Entering the witness box for the first time at the ongoing Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry, retired Major General Norman McLean said during his tenure as the Guyana Defense Force Chief of Staff, he had no knowledge of the Army's involvement, particularly as it relates to the issuance of arms and ammunition to the controversial House of Israel.
1979 and 1980 was a Mr. Wycliffe McAllister, a member of the GDF. Do you know the name?
I have a vague recollection of a McAllister in the GDF. I don't know, PR or something like that.
You're not aware of the GDF asking him to train members of the House of Israel?
Not aware of that.
Okay. Did the GDF operate a communications switchboard at Camp Stevenson in 1980?
I would imagine that they have a switchboard at Camp Stevenson. I don't know what's the difference between a communication switchboard and a switchboard. It's a telephone. A telephone system, yes. I am sure that we had that at Camp Stevenson.
In 1980?
Camp Stevenson is Timeri.
Yes. This is in 1980?
Yes.
Okay. Just to tie up on a issue raised by one of the commissioners, by Madam Commissioner, were you or any other rank, as far as you are aware, in the GDF, asked by the police about the movements of the plane?
I was never asked. I never knew about it.
Did you personally fear that Dr. Walter Rodney had infiltrated your army?
There was no fear. I think that was a reality. We had Day Clean, Yam Vine, you name it. We had all sorts of leaflets and what have you going around the army. And it's not a fear, nothing to be afraid of, but it's a reality.
Could you be more specific? You conceded that he had infiltrated the army.
Yes, I'm certainly satisfied that, well, I don't like the word infiltration, but he certainly had a following in the army.
You didn't feel that he may have posed a security threat to the army because of that?
No.
Day Clean and what? I missed the second.
Yam Vine.
Yam Vine.
These were periodicals, like a flyer that's prepared by, I don't want to say who I think it was, but it was going around to all the soldiers and in intention to undermine loyalty and discipline and what have you.
I've seen Day Clean in the files you have been
You
given.
didn't see Yam Vine?
I don't think I've seen Yam Vine yet. I'll look out for it.
Did he, was Walter Rodney, did he speak with you from time to time?
Never met him, never had the honor of meeting him.
Just as a wrap-up question, do you agree that in the late 1970s and in 1980, that the GDF benefited historically?
10 years you got there, yes.
Pardon?
10 years you got there? 70s and 80s?
No, 1980.
All right.
In the late 1970s and in 1980, do you agree that the GDF were, as an organization, was the recipient of more human and financial resources than at any other period of our history?
You're probably right. As I indicated to you, if you have 8,000 men and you have an artillery battalion and you have a special forces battalion and what have you, you have a lot of men to train, to feed, and we had a lot of exercises going on, Ironweed, Green Heart, where we kept the soldiers very busy on training.
So you agree that as a matter of government policy, the, the, the military apparatus of the state was being increased.
Well, there was
During
good,
that
there was good
period.
reason. We had problems on three sides. You had the Surinamese on one side, the Venezuelan on the other side, and the Atlantic Ocean on the other side.
And also Walter Rodney.
No, I didn't see Walter as such a threat, you know. I mean, he's a leader who led from the front, as I do. You know, so I didn't see him as a threat.
McLean, during his questioning by Commissioner Senat Jairam, also denied having knowledge that Sergeant William Gregory Smith, who was alleged to have given Dr. Rodney the explosive device, was flown to Kokwani in a GDF Islander aircraft following the death of Dr. Walter Rodney.
From what you have told us thus far, it would appear that you had little or no information concerning the events leading up to Dr. Rodney's death. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment.
Right. I am on our terms of reference number 1, to examine the facts and circumstances immediately. I am omitting the words prior, at the time of, and I am going and subsequent to the death of Dr. Walter Rodney, in order to determine as far as possible who or what was responsible for the explosion resulting in the death of Dr. Walter Rodney. Now, as Chief of Staff of the Army, it had been revealed in the press subsequent to the death of Dr. Rodney that fingers were pointing to a member or a former member of the Army, namely William Gregory Smith or Gregory Smith, whatever he was. As head of the Army, that would have been of some concern to you.
Yes.
And would that at least have aroused your curiosity to try to find out precisely what, if any, role Gregory Smith had in relation to the death of Dr. Rodney? I'm talking now subsequent.
Okay. First of all, I was happy when I heard there was no Gregory Smith.
That's initially.
Yes, yes. And after it was discovered that there was a William Gregory Smith, I was also happy that he was not, according to the information I got, that he was in the Army and is a deserter. But certainly that was something which we were happy about, that look, this is not a man who is with us, put it this way.
But, you know, Counselor put to you, did you uncover any information that the Army, in fact, played a role in moving Gregory Smith from in and around Georgetown to Kwakwani or elsewhere?
I was not aware that he was being moved anywhere.
No, I'm not talking about prior to, I'm talking
After, I'm
subsequent.
talking about after.
Yes.
I was not aware that he was being moved to Kokwani and to all this. I heard that, as I said, I heard recently from Captain Gavaya when he was told he's coming here to give evidence that, you know, this is not something which I was aware of. So
Do you read the daily newspapers at the time? Did you, sorry? Or you had somebody who checking them to tell you what was being reported in the news? You recall?
I must have read the newspapers.
I can't put my fingers in it at the moment, but I seem, in all these stack of papers we have been given, that it was reported at the time, when I say at the time, shortly after the death of Dr. Rodney, that the Army had removed him and so on, and he went to Kokwani and then subsequently to French Guyana. Did you, what my question is,
That was recent?
did you ask any
Was
questions?
that shortly after his death? I don't
At
think
or
so.
around?
What time
I
was
seem to
that?
recall, I'm not sure. Were you aware of that information
No.
around the time?
No,
Assuming it is correct, though,
not at all.
assuming that the information is correct, that the Army played a role in transporting them into some 60 miles or more away, and then maybe close to the border,
Is there anything?
who would have authorized that? The Air Wing?
Whoever was the commander for the Air Corps may have, but they have other. You have to recognize that we could have rogue elements in there.
I was about
I don't
to
know
ask.
why, he would have gone there and or why he would have been taken there according to the information which I have, but I am not aware of that.
But following up with from the chairman,
Yes.
even if it was a rogue element, would there be a logbook logging the departure and arrival of aircrafts and so on?
Two things. One is that if there was a logbook, then it should be produced by somebody. Or secondly, if it is a rogue element, then there'll be no logbook.
But did anybody during that period report that an aircraft was taken unlawfully or without authorization?
No, I was not aware of that, and certainly the commander of the Air Corps would be the man who would know. So
But suppose-
I have no report from him to say, look,
But suppose
a
he
plane went to Kokwani at some point in time.
If he was the rogue element, the commander, you will not know. Because the rogue behavior would extend to excluding you from knowledge. You're shaking your head, but I don't know again.
No, I can only agree with you.
But how, in your experience, how long would the Army keep its records? From how long? Of what period?
I would imagine that the record should be available, still be available. Although it's 34 years later, there should be some record to show that a flight left somewhere, Vogel or wherever it went to Kokwani.
Right, so it will be archived if not,
Should be
not
there.
current. Thank you.
The former chief of staff refuted that he swore allegiance to the People's National Congress. He said the party Paramountcy principle did not affect the functioning of the army under his tenure.
Paramountcy. You're aware of that?
I heard the term and I know about it.
You know that it meant that all state agencies went so far as the state itself fell under the political party. How did that affect the running of the army?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
How did that affect the running of the army? Did it mean that there was interference that, by the party, not always through you?
I cannot believe that that would be relevant in the case that the army would carry out some party function which is not in keeping with our mandate and our duty and responsibility.
But the party function or inquiry might only in relation to information and asking individuals to do particular missions for it. You can't rule out
That would be serious rogue
Well,
action which I find difficult to perceive, but it could have happened.
but you seem to suggest that the army was exempt as an agency of the state from paramountcy. But the army itself was subject to the party,
In what sense?
given the doctrine of paramountcy. You thought you were exempted? That is the army?
I would have thought so, but
But on what basis?
traditionally the army has a mandate to be accountable to the people. And to
Tradition was thrown overboard. The party was paramount. And all the state agencies fell under it. So why are you thinking you were exempted?
Well, he just answered your question, Mr. Chairman. He's a professional soldier. He just answered your question that the army is accountable to the people.
But I don't understand what you're getting at. The doctrine seems to suggest that the party.
Well, then
Was
ask him what
That's
is his understanding of paramountcy and how it related to the functioning of the armed forces itself and the army.
That's a variant of the same question.
It may be a manner in which he can understand it so that he can give a direct answer to it.
Yeah. But my question remains, why did you think that the army was exempt from paramountcy of the party?
Because of military discipline and the strength of the leadership of the Army.
I believe someone told us, I try to remember who, whether it is the UC Quayana or someone told us that every year after the party's Congress, that you, the Commissioner of Police, would go to the wherever the Congress was and swear allegiance
No, sir.
to the party. Did you ever do that?
Not this boy. Not this boy. Yeah,
So
not this boy.
you would defy the president? He was a very powerful man.
It's not a reason to, no reason to defy. It was never brought to my attention. I wasn't required to do that. And in fact, I see the gentleman has the book there by Brigadier David Granger, and he speaks quite clearly in page 186 that I did not do that.
If
Yeah,
I,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, if I can go back to the issue of paramountcy.
Yes.
You were aware of the Sapphire Declaration?
Yes.
In your discussions, whether with the Prime Minister directly or when the Defense Board met, was this ever the subject of discussion, this paramountcy of the party, which formed a part of the Sapphire Declaration?
Only in the sense that they dealt with it at a political party level, and as far as we were concerned, it didn't really impact on us in the military.
Did you ever in the military say, this declaration of paramountcy cannot apply to us, we consider ourselves exempt?
No, we just didn't do it.
McLean admitted that Dr. Rodney had an influence on the Army, but there was no fear. Subjected to cross-examination by lawyer Andrew Pilgrim, who represents the Rodney family, McLean denied that he knew why he was chosen specifically to lead the Army, while there may have been other qualified individuals within the military at that time.
Major, you had indicated that you were surprised at your appointment. Why were you surprised?
Well, he left
Major General.
That's all right. The demotion is accepted.
My emotion?
That's a demotion.
I beg your pardon. Major General, your full title.
Why I was surprised?
Duly afforded. Why were you surprised?
I was enjoying my work as Director General in the National Service. We were doing great things with young people, 5,000 young people. And I didn't see myself going to the Army. So that was a real surprise.
But were you surprised only because you were enjoying what you were doing, or you were surprised at what you were being called upon to do?
I was surprised at what I was being called on to do.
And why did you think that you were trained to do that? Maybe I should put it another way. Did you think there were other people more trained and more qualified than yourself who were due for that post?
I won't put it that way, but there certainly were highly qualified people who were within the military structure who you assumed would become the chiefs of staff of that.
Do you know of any reason why they were overlooked in your favor?
I don't have a clue.
I'm suggesting to you that you do in fact have a clue.
No, I don't, honest. I was enjoying, it was the best service I've ever been in. When you're talking about young people who could move mountains and you would lead them, you were, everywhere. You have people in this room here who will say, DG, you don't remember me? Look, that lawyer there is one of them, sitting right there. And I have many others in this room, all who would put up their hands and say, I was in the National Service, and this did wonderful things to me. Look, you can see the hands going up. It is the best service I have ever led, and it was the most rewarding that I've ever had. Look, hands are going up. Right, thank you. So I was happy where I was.
I understand the happy part.
We were planting 2,000 acres of cotton. We put down a cotton gin, black eye dryers, black eye. We were producing black eye and feeding the nation in terms of chicken and eggs and what have you. At Papaya, we were doing the same thing for greens. At Itabo, we were doing quarrying. At Kanuruk and Chumatwara, Kanuruk, we were doing lumber.
I understand.
And making toothpicks. It was the greatest experience of my life.
I understand.
Right.
You also said that you were not welcome. Those are your words.
Oh yes.
Who didn't welcome you? Who was it that made you feel unwelcome?
The officers of the GDF for the same reason. who is this police old soldier who coming here? And if you read David Granger's book, he says that they saw me coming to the army as chief of staff as where you come from? Why? How
You come out of nowhere and get this big pick. In Barbados, we call it a big pick. How you get this big pick?
So I was not very welcome there. As I told you, they had a bomb scare on my arrival.
Pilgrim suggested that McLean was withholding information and that in fact he did have knowledge of many of the claims that were laid.
Can you just confirm for me that there were a number of things you didn't know around the period of June 13th through to, let's say, the 20th? You didn't know initially that there was any Gregory Smith in existence at all?
No.
You didn't know, well, you were eventually told in the next few days that he did exist.
Yes.
You didn't know anything about this plane flying him to Kwakwani or anywhere else?
No.
I have to suggest to you that even down in Barbados, we heard about this plane. You heard nothing about any plane moving this man at any time.
Shortly after?
Shortly after, within the period of, I want to say, weeks to months after, you had no knowledge.
No knowledge.
You knew the chap that you mentioned, Jerry Gavaya, personally?
Yes. He was a product of the National Service as well. He's one who we sent to Embry-Riddle to be trained as a pilot.
If he flew that plane, you would have expected him to have told you?
I would have expected him to tell me. But he didn't.
And last week he didn't tell you that?
Huh?
Last week he didn't tell you that?
Last week he told me when I think he's been summoned to come here.
But did
That's
he tell
what he
you
told me.
anything about
No.
him flying the plane?
No, sir.
He told you he was coming to give evidence about
Yes,
flying the plane?
Yes, that's right.
That's what,
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
No, I just wanted to suggest to the witness that if indeed he did fly the plane, and I think that's the evidence that we have.
I don't know.
Would you then be prepared to accept that you had officers around you who might have been taking instructions from outside, from the political directory,
Grateful, Chair.
unknown to you perhaps?
Possibly. And I would have thought that I was a mentor for that gentleman.
So in other words, again, you were surprised when he said to you,
Not a surprise.
but he said to you, I'm coming to give evidence about the, well, you tell us what he told you. You tell us
Well,
what he told
I don't know where we met. I try to remember where we met.
you. Doesn't matter where.
No, because I'm trying to put some...
Jog your memory on that.
Remember, I'm suffering from Alzheimer's, not all.
Just part.
At my
Just
age.
part.
My mother can give me all that transpired when I was a little boy, but she
Okay.
don't remember that
Don't
I
worry
went
about
there
it.
yesterday.
Don't worry about
So,
your mother.
the
Don't worry
short
about your
memory
mother.
goes.
Don't worry about your mother.
So anyhow,
You told this commission early on
Yes.
that you had a conversation with this gentleman.
that's right.
And your memory seemed reasonably fresh at that
Yes.
point. Can you remember any of the content whatsoever of that conversation?
Only to the effect that he was being summoned to come here to give evidence in connection with flying the plane to Kwakwani.
Flying the plane.
Yes.
And this was the first time in 34 years that you're hearing anything about that plane.
Correct.
Did you ask him any questions at all?
No, sir. Having not told me for 34 years, I don't want to know.
So you're willing to agree pretty much with what the chair is suggesting, that there could well have been a complete conspiracy within the GDF of which you know nothing. You're willing to take that?
Yes, I'm willing to take that.
I didn't quite put that as a conspiracy.
Well, I'm glad he's taking it,
That
sir.
members around him were taking instructions
I'm
from
gr-
outside politicians, and then they do him going past it.
So using my words, though, you're willing to accept that there may well have been a
Yes.
conspiracy underneath you.
I am
so to
not
speak.
accepting a conspiracy. There may have been somebody who has been given instructions on which I knew nothing about.
And
Not
this-
that I would have known, because remember, as I told you, we have 13 or 14 planes, and they fly all over this country to bring out people who are injured, snake bite, bad pregnancy, whatever it is.
But if they're
all
flying,
hours of the day or
if
night.
they're flying around deserters who are blowing
Well,
up people, you would like
Well,
to know
I
about
don't.
it. no?
I would have liked to know.
But you were never told anything of
No,
the kind,
sir.
not even by your good friend Jerry Gavaya.
Well, I didn't call him that, you know.
You described him as your friend. You
you-
described him as your friend,
you said
boss.
that, you know.
You describe him as your friend, not me.
But I think we must get this from the witness though, but if it turns out that the word taken, that you had personnel in the army taking instructions from the political directorate unknown to you, your presentation of the force is this disciplined organization, because implicit in that is that they take orders only from the head,
Was it from,
from the chain of command, and you
was
have
it
to
from the
stop.
political directorate? I don't know that.
No. Assuming
I
that
don't know where
though,
he got it from.
assuming that it would mean that that your view of them was a mistaken one. You're prepared to accept that?
That what?
If indeed the evidence turns out to be that people outside the army were giving instructions to army personnel.
That's a little too hypothetical, I would like to suggest, Commissioner.
Why is that so hypothetical?
He got instructions from where? I don't know.
But not from within the army.
I don't know,
No, but assume that for a moment.
but that's an assumption.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, as lawyers, and we're all lawyers and you're commissioners, the rule in Brown versus Dunn applies. And so if the commission has evidence from Jerry Gavaya that he's coming to the commission to give particular evidence, then the commission should put it to the former chief of staff and let him agree or disagree. Let the rule in Brown versus Dunn apply.
I'm sorry, I thought I understood the witness to be saying, when he had this brief conversation with Mr. Gavaya indicated that he did fly this person.
No, I didn't say that.
No?
said that.
No, you didn't say
No,
that.
hold on. He was coming here to give evidence about what, Mr.
Flying
Major
plane.
General, Major General, please, about what? He told you he was coming here to give evidence about flying a plane?
Yes.
Flying the plane
The plane.
to where?
To Kokwani.
To Kokani?
Yes.
With whom?
Well, that's, he didn't tell me that.
Okay.
You said the allegation of flying the plane.
No, he never said allegation, sir. He said he was coming to give evidence about flying the
That's right,
plane.
but I'm actually if
to
he's saying
Kokani.
about an allegation of flying the plane.
I am just
don't know.
getting-
We haven't seen any statement from Jerry.
Excuse me, I'm just getting this witness's evidence as to what he said. Thank you.
Give a little evidence.
Okay.
You're good to go? No. We don't have, I understand there's one. You indicated to the commission earlier that you were happy to learn initially that there was no Gregory Smith. Naturally, because you didn't want this on your plate,
Quite in order.
right? And then you were happy then to learn, well, he is a soldier, but at least he has deserted. Did you at any time take it upon yourself to try to find out when he had deserted?
No.
Once you heard deserted, you done with that, you wash your hands of the whole Gregory Smith affair.
No, the police were.
You,
following-
not the police. You. Did you wash your hands of the Gregory Smith involvement in the murder of Walter Rodney when you heard he was a
Well,
deserter?
I know he's more than.
We are dealing with the death.
I beg your
of
pardon,
Walter
madam.
Rodney. We
My
have a
misphrasing.
conflict here.
I beg your pardon. When you learned that Gregory Smith was a deserter, did you at that point wash your hands of doing any type of investigative procedures vis-a-vis his involvement in the death, I beg your pardon, of Walter Rodney?
That's a police matter.
The answer to that would be yes.
No, I don't like the terminology wash my hands.
What terminology would you use to describe how you did not investigate the matter further?
Whatever benign,
Sorry?
a benign
A benign?
position where that is concerned.
I don't understand what you're saying. Please see if you can explain that a little bit better. A benign position?
Yes, where this matter is concerned. The police were going to do the investigation.
Did
not
you
me.
take any
I am
further
not going
interest
to-
in the
no,
matter?
Not really.
You did nothing?
No.
In circumstances that you knew that someone who was under your direct command could be implicated in the
Not in
death?
my direct command.
I beg your pardon. Someone who would be under your command, your responsibility. If he were indeed implicated in the death, it would be to some extent your responsibility. Do you accept that?
No.
You do not
Too
accept.
far removed.
You do not accept that if one of your soldiers is involved in the death of a civilian, that you have any responsibility whatsoever in that as chief of staff.
Depend on the circumstances.
In the circumstances with which we are dealing. In these circumstances, sir, you don't accept that you would have had any responsibility. People of Guyana?
You said direct responsibility, and I'm saying no.
I didn't say anything about direct.
You did.
Do you? Well, let me try and rephrase it to make you happier. Do you accept that if Gregory Smith was involved in the death of Walter Rodney in the circumstances that we understand them to be, that you had a responsibility to investigate that?
I don't share your view.
Not my view. Do you agree
I
with
don't
that? That you had a
share your view.
Please,
No,
sir,
but he
don't
has
get
answered,
vexed.
Mr.
Don't get
Chairman, he has
vexed.
answered the question.
Don't get vexed.
He has answered the question.
Don't get vexed.
He has answered the question.
You want to back?
Yeah,
You want
but
to back again?
yes, he has answered you. He said no.
He said he does not share my view.
Well, he say no.
And Council, I don't think you need to personalize it. All he meant is that I don't share the view you're presenting. When he says I don't share your view, you might be expressing a view that is outside of yourself.
Grateful
But he meant
Chair.
I don't share the view you present.
Grateful Chair.
You know, so don't personalize it.
No, I'm not trying to in any way personalize it at all.
Don't share
Trying
the
to
view
take
like
my
that.
view out of it. Is it your position that if Gregory Smith was involved in this matter and that he was being flown around by people from the GDF, that you would
Look at all
have
the
no
assumptions.
responsibility?
Look at all the assumptions.
He says, look at all the assumptions.
No, I said those are all assumptions.
No, I think that you ought to answer the question directly. Major General, I think you need to answer the questions directly because a lot of what is being presented to you is reflected in what is before us and shortly to be made public. So you proceed on the premise for a moment that the GDF aircraft transported Gregory Smith.
Do we have evidence of that?
Yes, proceed on that basis, that is the evidence. What is your reaction to the circumstances? You said you didn't know, perhaps you didn't know. His question is that if it was brought to your attention, would you have thought you had a responsibility to act?
To investigate it?
Yes,
To
sir.
act however you act.
The police and the other personnel were doing that. I didn't see that I had to investigate anything.
But that is one answer. That
Did-
you would perhaps have passed it on to them, so let them run with it. Is that what you're saying? That you have drawn that to the attention of the police?
It was being investigated by the police. No question about it.
Did you do anything in any way to facilitate and cooperate the police investigation?
Not me personally.
Did you direct officers under your command to cooperate specifically
No,
with
I
the
did
police?
not.
Did you think that would be something that would
No,
be
I
you?
did not.
Can I finish the question before you get your answers in, Chief? Did you think there would be any utility in you offering assistance to the police in their investigation of this matter?
There were people doing that. I don't have to do
Who
that,
was
Chief
doing
of
that?
Staff.
Who was
I
doing
have officers under my command who will do that, not me.
How do you know that they did that, sir? Seems like you turned a blind eye to it, Major General.
He said officers under his command were involved.
And I asked him who?
Can you know and give him a chance to answer, recall who these officers
I asked him who, he has an answer.
What has he said?
He ain't answering, he's stripping his teeth.
I'm waiting for the answer.
He's sucking his teeth and looking about in space. Can you answer that? Who were the officers under your command that were dealing with this matter, sir?
The police,
The officers under your command, sir, please.
Assisting the police.
All the show done now. Let me hear the show. Bring the show, man.
Major General, I think you still have
Sir.
an obligation to answer us as best you can. He's asking you who were the officers under your command who were dealing with the police on the matter.
Colonel McPherson, Major Lewis. You want me to call any more dead men?
You call the names of people that you are aware were doing the work, dead or alive.
Those are the persons.
How did you know that they were doing this work? You don't only get nice questions. How did you know that they were doing this work that you say you didn't do?
They were supposed to do it.
They were supposed to do it. Do you have any information that suggests they did any such cooperation with the police investigation?
I think you should ask the police.
I'm asking you.
No, I don't know.
Well, say that. You
Mr.
only have to
Chairman,
say that.
Commission Counsel Lachmi Rahamat gave an overview of Wednesday's hearing.
After many years of speculation that initially when he did tell the press that there was no Gregory Smith in existence, he indicated that the reason he communicated that to the press was because he did not have the knowledge at the time. When he called his commander at the time and asked, is Gregory Smith in the army, he was told no. He's saying that after he received a call saying, look, Gregory Smith is in the army and the regulation number 4141, he then made another call, and when he made the second call, finding out about the exact regulation number within the army, it is then he was able to confirm that there was a Gregory Smith. However, he is saying when he confirmed there was a Gregory Smith was not a serving member of the army, but in fact he's saying he was regarded as a deserter. He went absent without leave, and after several days, how much of a time passed, he became a desertee. When someone deserts the army, he's saying a certain procedure has to be followed, where their names, although it's not struck off the roll, their names would in fact be removed from the payroll. A document was shown to the witness in relation to a payroll sheet that would have come from the army, which is a document that was brought to the commission by the army, and at a later stage those documents will be tendered. This document was shown to the witness, and the witness said it appears to be a payroll sheet, and that sheet shows the name Gregory Smith and also the regulation number 4141, and that is confirmation that at least as of May of 1979, Gregory Smith was still on the payroll of the army. Of course, these documents will have to be tendered before any reliance can be placed on them, and that will be done at the appropriate time through the appropriate witness.
The public hearings of the Commission of Inquiry will continue on Friday, June 6, with Alan Robert Gates scheduled to give his testimony.